What's going on out there? I'm your host, Talking Face, and this could be news brought to you by Royal Family Studios. Everything is still stupid in today's world, but there is a silver lining. We don't have to worry about the coronavirus because the mainstream media isn't covering it. And since they're not covering it, it's not that serious anymore. Especially since they're only covering these riots where it's a mass gathering of people, and that's not the main problem. So it's not serious. The issue is justice for George Floyd, even though the officers are currently being investigated and one was charged with murder. Then it moved to police brutality, but that only lasts for a second. But now it's racism. I know it's racism because that's what they're saying.
Black people's right to protest is secondary to white people's right to be an armed protest with long guns, terrifying-looking war weapons.
This is how the protest of Floyd's death ended up. Police in riot gear flooding the streets with tear gas and shooting rubber bullets into the crowd. Another example of how this pandemic has been a kind of black light exposing all the inequalities in American life.
That's the meme that's going around right now with the cops, with the black kid on the ground saying hello to the white guy in camo with the AK-47 and the mask who was protesting in Michigan. That when it's white people with guns and they're out and they're angry and their faces with cops.
Didn't see any of that.
Everybody's civil.
I don't know why the news media decides to fan the flames of racism in this country. I think they're trying to cause a civil war. And it's to the point where these riots actually reached the White House. But CNN didn't want to cover that when it was happening. And honestly, there are a lot of white people out there too. And a lot of Antifa members who I think support black people. But some of the real protesters out there, not the rioters, the looters, they don't want their help.
Police people's way of
Let me tell you
themselves.
This is not a black woman who's putting Black Lives Matter. I just want you to know that when, right, but y'all doing that for us and we ain't asked you to do that. Listen, don't spray stuff out here when they gonna blame black people for this and black people didn't do it.
That lady knew what she was talking about. And it's funny because white liberals and rich liberals believe they know what's best for the black community. They have weird ways of showing support, like tagging a building with Black Lives Matter or doing what Joe Biden does and give money to bail out the protesters pretty much for a good photo op. Or getting on Twitter, tweeting support. Like when Chris Palmer said, burn that blank down, burn it all down. He tweeted a nice picture. But they don't know what it's like until it gets to their door. Because when he had to deal with the real life situation, he kind of changed his mind. He got back on Twitter and said, they just attacked our sister community down the street. It's a gated community and they tried to climb the gates. They had to beat them back. Then destroyed a Starbucks and are now in front of my building. Get these animals the F out of my neighborhood. Go back to where you live. Yeah. Personally, I just believe that we should just wait for former officer Derek Chauvin to go to court. Because everybody who is a decent human being can see that he murdered this man. And I also believe that the protesters / rioters should just go home. Because you're not helping any situation. And I believe all the rich people should hush their mouth because they don't have to live in these neighborhoods and deal with these issues.
They went straight to Office Max, the dollar store, and every store over here that I go to. I have nowhere to go now. I have no way to get there because the buses aren't running. These people did this for no reason. It's not going to bring George back here. George is in a better place than we are. And last night, I'm going to be honest, I wish I was where George was because this is ridiculous. These people are tearing up our livelihood.
That's just my opinion. I'm your host, Talking Face. If you can, like the video, subscribe to the page. Tell your friends about us. Y'all stay prayed up. Peace.